Well, thank you so much for agreeing to participate in this project, in the Gainesville Business History Project. Mm-hmm. We are doing oral history interviews to business owners in the city. My name is Paula de la Cruz Fernández, and this is going to be part of the History Department's Inquire Capitalism program, and also part of the UF Library and Archives collections. Can you please tell us your name and the name of your business?
I'm Donna Hastings, and this is Bead All About It.
That's wonderful. So could we start with you, with a little bit more about you, your story, and also when did you start with the business?
This business started in August of 2005. My son went to UF, and he never left Gainesville. And in that year, my daughter and I decided to move down here, and we opened a bead store, this bead store. And it took us from June to August to get it all prepared, and we opened August 5th in 2005. There.
So what was your relationship with beadwork before you opened?
Well, I actually owned a store before this in Virginia Beach, Virginia. I had a partner, and I don't know, my daughter and I just really wanted to move back to Florida. My husband was in the Navy for 26 years, and we lived in Florida 3 different times, and I just really loved Florida. We lived in Orlando and over in Mayport, and then after he came to UF, he never left. So we decided to move here to Gainesville. In the Navy, I lived all over. We lived in Maine, Massachusetts, Great Lakes, Illinois, Morocco, and Norfolk, Virginia, and then Mayport, Florida twice, and Orlando, Florida. So we moved around a lot.
That's right. So where are you originally from?
I'm originally from Maine.
Mm-hmm. And could you tell us a little bit about your upbringing and what made you want to work with jewelry?
Well, I never started thinking of jewelry until in Norfolk. But in Maine, I was just an ordinary kid. I grew up on a lake. I swam all the time, canoed, rowed, all of that, all lake activities, as well as, the winter stuff. Ice skating, and we did snowboarding on the ice, and all, just all those kind of activities. My dad was very protective and loving. So was my mom. One time we saw a moose come right by our house, and I was standing out there, and my dad rushed out the door and swept me back in the house, because moose can be vicious if they feel threatened. And this moose was probably not more than 6 feet away from me. So he didn't want that moose to swing around and hurt me. And the moose went right into the lake and swam off.
Wow.
Yeah. There were 2 islands. We would swim to those islands. We would skate to those islands. We were very free to play. There was nothing to be afraid of back in those days, except drowning or doing something really stupid. But, we were pretty savvy kids.
Wonderful.
So that's how I grew up, pretty protected. Mm-hmm. Went to a little congregational church, very, kind of an old-fashioned church. And that's how I grew up.
Was beadwork?
No.
At all? Anything
Not at all.
Did?
No, not at all. Never.
Do you remember seeing stores around you that did this, or?
No, never. It really wasn't a thing back then. What got me started was when I lived in Virginia Beach, they had a huge craft show. It was so big that they did it on 2 weekends with no repeat of vendors. It was huge. So my girlfriend and I went there, and our husbands either used to play golf or go fishing. So we had our Saturdays to do whatever we wanted. And there was a woman there who had a booth with probably 5,000 pair of earrings. I'm not exaggerating. It was huge. And at that time, this was a long time ago, she was selling them for $5 a pair. So we both worked. We bought a bunch of earrings. And then we thought, let's find a bead store. So 26 miles away from us, there were 2 bead stores. So we started going there. And we took some classes there. I learned to make earrings. Then we went on and learned to do a few other things. And then we decided to open our own store in Virginia Beach.
Was that the only way you could become good at making beadwork?
Well, as far as we knew, yeah.
Right.
I studied so hard during that time, learning everything I could. I have my major was business administration. And so I, had some business knowledge, but I had no knowledge of beads. And I just started studying every single night to learn everything I could. And that was more than 20 years ago. And every day I still feel like there's something new to learn about the stones, about jewelry construction, all kinds of things. There's just always something new to learn.
And are there manuals to learn, or how did you learn? What kind of information?
We took classes. We took hands-on classes.
Right.
There are some manuals. There are books that you can learn from. And we teach here now. We teach every Saturday. We have a basic beginning class. And people love it. It's free with a $10 purchase. And, people get to experiment a little bit and see if they like it before they have a large expenditure. And, I'm kind of in the business of addicting. I like to get them addicted to beading, and most people do. They love it. So that's what we do.
Tell me a little bit more about your college years. Like, why did you study business administration, and what years?
I did not go to college right out of high school. I got married, and we moved to Morocco. And we lived in Morocco for, 11 or 12 months. And then, actually, my children were older, and I went to college. And I knew that it was a victory. My little girl was, I went to college in Hawaii. That's where I started out. And Hawaii has a lot of days off. So I would take my daughter with me. She was 5, 6 years old. She'd have her little backpack, and I'd make up some little things for her to do. And she was so good. And she played with 2 little girls in our neighborhood. And she said to her friend Vanessa, I will never forget this, she said, "Go get your backpack. Let's pretend we're going to college." I went, "Oh, yes." Yes. And she did go to college. Both of my kids did. That was really important to me. But I went to school in Hawaii, and then I transferred to St. Leo University, which had a satellite campus in Norfolk, in Virginia. So I just studied business because I found it interesting, and it was
maybe thinking already that you could open your own business, or
not so much then. Subsequently, I went to work for USAA, which is a huge financial management company. And they have their main office in San Antonio, Texas. And at that time, they had satellite offices in Tampa, Norfolk, Colorado Springs. I think that's all. And it was a wonderful place to work. It was a great place. And I continued classes there. And what you learned there actually applied to your college credits, because it was such extensive learning to learn contracts and, personal lines of insurance.
Well, that's wonderful though, because then when you wanted to open this business,
I had a clue.
you knew how to do it, right?
Sort of, yeah, I did.
So how do you open a business, a bead work business?
Well, the
Or
first thing you have
retail.
to do is get a business license. And here in Gainesville, it's a little quirky to get a business license.
Tell me more about that.
Well, you go one time and you have an application and they'll say, oh, well, we need this. So that would be an extra thing. Instead of telling you all the things they need all at once, I think we made 5 or 6 trips because they don't tell you everything they need all at once. So that's what I found a little quirky. But that was a long time ago. Maybe they've fixed that since then, I hope. Because it was time-consuming and frustrating and scary because we had already rented that location. Our first location was where Eileen's is now, in that corner.
Okay.
That was our first location. And we'd already rented it. We had already started stocking it, and we didn't have a business license yet. It was so nerve-wracking because,
I can imagine.
But they at that time, they made it a little quirky to do it. We thought.
How do you get all these products?
Well, that's another story. It is a huge, it was like jumping off a cliff, really. I had sold my house in Virginia, and that's what I used for seed money. I didn't have to take any credit. And I just knew what I was going to stock. At that time, we had 5 showcases that were full of nothing but Swarovski crystals, which I'm a Swarovski snob. But they've since stopped making beads. They're a huge company, and they make a lot of other products, but they've stopped making beads. So, but at that time, I had every color, every shape, every size, and it was a magnificent display. And then we started on natural gemstones, and that requires a lot of learning. Really, I really studied that. And then I have a couple of vendors that consign with me. So I take the products and then pay them after I sell it, which was a big help. And the seed beads back here, my son, so I got a big blanket for the table. We had 2 tables for one of the tables. And my son is a really successful realtor here, and he knows a lot of businessmen. And they came and helped. They would bring lunch, and then we buy these by the kilo, like this. And then they have to go in these tubes to sell. And these high-level business people love doing it. It was very zen-like. They'd call and say, what do you want for lunch? I'm coming over. And it was just lovely. It was a cooperative effort. And we decided to have a big party to announce our opening. So I bought postcards, and I sent them to all the zip codes. You can buy this from the beading magazines. I bought their mailing lists, and then we printed labels. That was such an exciting day when I figured out how to print those labels. And we sent them all the way down to Orlando, over to the beach, over to Pensacola, up into Georgia. So we did a big circle of people, and we had a big party, big party to announce ourselves. And my son, one of his friends, became the bartender, and he had the cummerbund and the fancy shirt, and we could only serve beer and wine. So that's what we had. And they catered it, my son's friends, even so much as to have an ice sculpture. One of them used to do that. He used to be a caterer. Now he does something really fancy somewhere. But anyway, they did such a beautiful job. We had wonderful food. And so the party was starting at 6:30. At 6 o'clock, I sat in the back office and I had an anxiety attack because I was like, what if no one comes? Oh my God, you guys have worked so hard. What if nobody comes? And my son said, Mom, it'll be fine. People will come. And by about 6:45, it was standing room, shoulder to shoulder. And we had placed little tables and chairs outside. And it was just filled with happy people eating, drinking, and admiring the beads. Mm-hmm. It was really exciting and rewarding.
So you said before it was on that corner.
I've been in 3 places.
Okay.
The first one was in that corner up there that is Eileen's now, this little corner. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yep. And then we moved that. These are all rentals, and that landlord never wanted to fix the air conditioner. So it was hard to keep it cool. So we were there for many years. Then we moved up on the corner. That used to be a baby and maternity shop, and she decided to stay home with her kids. And she came to see me one day, and she said, would you be interested in renting the front spot? And I said, yes, because our back doors were out the same way, and they had a brand new air conditioner. So I moved up there, and I was there for many years. I had lovely landlords, and then their son took over, and he sold it to the chocolate shop. So the guy that owned this came to see me, and he said, would you be interested in 1A? This used to be an art gallery. And I came over and looked with my best friend, and I thought, I think we can make this into a bead store. It's smaller, the rent is less, and we opened it in 9 days, and that included painting because this was all black. The floor was nasty, but I had a wonderful man that worked for me, and he did everything. He was wonderful. So that's how we opened. In 9 days, we moved, and here we are. We've been here for a long time now.
And you have been the sole owner since then?
No, I started with my daughter, Robin.
Both owners?
Both owners, And she met and married a Canadian and moved to Canada. So she's too far away, but she's very, very happy. And I miss her every day, but more importantly, she's happy.
So for a while, she was also with you here?
Yes, she was here with me for many years.
Were there particular things she did and others that you did, or you just...
We both did everything. She was, and she still is, wonderful at ordering, very fast. Her degree is computer technology, and she puts it to good use. So even today, sometimes she will order for me. She can still do that. Right. And I pay her a little bit. She doesn't need it, but, it's fun. A little pin money for her.
Of course.
And she's, so to me, she's still a big part of this. Yeah.
So you mentioned the suppliers, right? So can you tell me the names of the companies that produce these?
I don't give out any sources, but I can tell you I have about probably 30 different sources.
Right. But are they? But they're national companies. They are international. Okay.
Yes, they are. They're wholesalers. All of them are wholesalers. I get this Czech glass. This is from the Czech Republic. They just come from all over the world. These are Chinese crystals. I still have a lot of Swarovskis that are from Austria that are leftover stock, and when they're gone, they're gone. I can't get those anymore.
Right.
And then I make most of the jewelry to sell. Not all of it, but most of it. That's where my heart is. I really love to design jewelry. But, I try to do that every day or every other day or so, but it's time consuming. Right.
So are the beads businesses big, or are they generally small suppliers?
Some are small, most are really big.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
They are, I have been here long enough and have established a good enough reputation that vendors come to me. Now, I don't have to go seeking out vendors. It's very, very rare because they just come to me.
Right. So tell me a little bit more about how you, over time, so if you could go back to when you started and tell me how you advertise the business, or people just
No, I had
walk
a big...
by.
So my son is also a marketer, and he said, Mom, you need to come big or go home. So I put all the money I had a $5,000 advertising budget. The rest of it was all in the product. And in my advertising to start, I advertised in every venue you can think of. All the bead magazines, there were 3 at that time. The Gainesville Sun, the Alligator. At that time, there was a show on TV where this guy went around and visited local businesses, and it was pretty expensive to have him do that. But then it was on the TV, so I did every medium, every single one, so that I was doing a broad swath of advertising. I'm also on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, mostly Facebook, and I have a big email presence. I have a list there, people sign up, and then I send out information. I don't bombard people with newsletters. Personally, I find it intrusive if I get some kind of newsletter from some company every day, or, So when I have something to say, I'll send out one. Normally to introduce some new beads or our classes. We teach fancy classes as well as our beginning classes. So I always like to send out something with the fancy class. It's once a month. And if I get some new products in, or if I just want to feature something, I'll send out a little short newsletter, but I do not bombard people with them. I find it intrusive personally, so plus I have a hard time writing them and keeping them precise,
You are also the only person taking care of advertising.
Yes, I am.
That's a big job.
It is. But it's a lot more minimal right now.
Okay.
I'm very picky and choosy about where I advertise. I want my dollar to be meaningful. I recently advertised in the Alligator. I find that to be a really good source because not only students pick that up, but they're all over town. So that's a really good source of advertising. Plus Facebook. I'll boost posts on Facebook. Although all of my customers don't have Facebook, a lot of them do. So that's a good place to do it. And there's word of mouth. In my bags, I put a flyer. And it just talks about our store and that we have classes and whatnot. So I'll put a little push on that. I have business cards, and I give a business card to everybody that walks out the door. And business cards are a major form of advertising, actually. They're very worth it. And I also have a rewards card, which is another form. Really, my accountant considers that a form of advertising also.
How does that work?
If you spend $200, when you spend $200, then you get $20 off the next purchase. So there are $20 increments, 20, 10, and 5. So you can it's punched, and when it's full, then you get $20, not 20%, but $20, and that's a big incentive for people. They'll think, and we can't punch for instance, these are all 40% off. We're not going to punch for those, and we can't punch for tax because tax doesn't belong to us. We have to pay that out. So, their punch might come up to $35, and they'll buy another $5 to get it up to $40, so they can get 2 punches. People will do that. And that wasn't my intent with the rewards card. The rewards card is intended to bring people back in. And it does. People really like them. It's a nice incentive.
When did you start that?
I started that, many, 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 many years ago. many years ago.
Towards the beginning?
Yeah, maybe 3 years in,
Okay.
we thought of that.
Tell me about if there have been big changes over time. If you can think of maybe a year that you took a risk on something and it didn't work, or a year like perhaps COVID. If you know how
COVID was very, very difficult because this county shut down all non-essential businesses for 2.5 months. And although beads are essential to me, they're not considered essential, so we had to shut down. That was a huge loss of income, but I still had to pay my rent, my utilities. So that was bad. That was really hard. Mm-hmm. Fortunately, I have other sources of income, and I was able to pay that rent, but it was a hardship. And my landlord didn't give me 1 inch of leeway, even though, everything had, the beauty shops and small restaurants took a terrible hit during that time being closed down,
Right. What about before COVID? Any other?
No, not really. I tend to really think things through, and I listen to my customers, and, if I hear, well, I have a lot of seed beads, and I'm still building that. Those are all seed beads, those tiny ones, and people are using those in a really big way. There are loads of ways to use those, like these bracelets over here. Every month we have classes using those tiny beads. Those are done with just a needle and thread, and then I show people how to use seed beads in other ways, to use them as fillers and mixers, and so I'm always expanding that area. And also my gemstones. People really like the semi-precious. All those gemstones are all different, and they all have different properties. And although I don't give people information about the properties, I suggest that they go to Google, because I don't want to say, oh, rose quartz will bring you love. Well, what if it doesn't? Yeah. So I encourage them to look it up themselves and read all about the properties of the stones. But people will walk in the door and say, oh, this place has a really good vibe. Well, I work on that vibe. I do. I work to keep it very positive, and I went to a shop somewhere, and the whole door was covered with no shoes, no service, no food, no drinks, no, like 10 different no's. And I thought, I'm certainly not going to do that. So I say, please enjoy your drinks and food before coming in. And to me, that's a nicer way to say it, but it imparts the same message. We don't want drinks or food in here. I've had stuff poured in my boxes, and it's a heck of a mess. So, I'm kind of strict about that. But other than that, I'm not at all. I just, I like to have a nice vibe for people, and they recognize it. They feel it.
Now that you say about other stores, what are other bead stores around here?
Well,
over time also.
Over time, when I moved here, there were 2. And my son was driving me all around town to find a location. And the first place I took had a hand-printed sign for rent. I said, oh, Michael, that looks really pretty in there. He said, do you know where you are, Mom? And I said, no. And I was right across the street. There was another store over there in the other shopping center. And so again, I sat down with all the businessmen, and I said, what do you think? And my son has a big dining room table. We were using that. And they said, look, you're a niche market. a niche. So it will actually bring more people in than not, because if they're going to stop here, get off I-75, or, they hear about this, oh, there's two in that area, it makes it a more worthwhile drive from the interstate to if you have two. So they never understood that, and they were not pleasant, but it really did work. People would come to both stores, and I made a conscious effort to never try to copy anything they did. I had my own ideas. I didn't need to do that at all. So my inventory was very, very different from theirs, and the whole time it was. And then there was another lady. She was right up kind of kitty corner. And they've torn down the building since then. And she wasn't exclusively a bead store. She had a lot of other knickknacks and other stuff. But she did have some beads, and she moved downtown for a while, but she couldn't make it because she didn't have enough inventory of anything to draw enough people. She really didn't, just a little bit. So she was very nice, though. She came to see me, and we were very congenial. And I bought some of these from her, when the little necklace forms.
When she's not in business anymore?
Oh, no, she's been gone for years and years. She moved away, actually,
so
she and her husband.
Is Bead All About It the only bead store?
Yeah, for about at least 8 or 9 years, we are the only ones.
Would you say big stores like Joann stores, Michael's are a big competition, or no?
Not at all.
It's very special.
Right, not at all. They do sell beads, but I was explaining this to a lady the other day. So you see these beads right here? That whole strand is nothing but beads. It doesn't have fillers. It's all beads, and it's a complete length. Well, and the lady said, well, I got that at Michael's for, $1.95, and I had a coupon, and I said, but how many beads did you end up with? Well, you're right. So the product that I sell is, I don't try to hide anything. It's very real. And the seed beads, they trick you with the seed beads. Mine are in, these are 26-ounce tubes. It's the standard way to sell seed beads. And they sell them in littler tubes, and it looks like you're getting more beads, but the tube itself is very thick. So you're not getting the same amount of beads at all. So it's a trick, but I don't have any tricks. It's all very straightforward. What you see is what you get. And pretty much I've been that way since the very beginning.
You said you make earrings and things to sell, and you sell it in the store. Do you have any other place you sell it?
No.
Just also on these festivals, right? The art festival.
Right. For festivals, I have participated in the festivals before, and it's really so much fun because it's a whole different customer that I'm seeing, and I really enjoyed it. But since my daughter would be running the store, and I would be at a table, and I was so pampered because from the store they constantly brought me drinks and food and let me go to the bathroom, and a lot of vendors don't have that luxury. But since my daughter is gone, it isn't as easy. I'm better off to be in here because I usually have a pot of flowers, and I throw that door open, and the people just come thronging in. So I do very good business. Pass out a lot of business cards, talk to people about our classes, and they'll say, oh, I'll come back when I don't have my kids with me, and they do. After the festivals, we enjoy a few weeks of being really busy from festival business. And I like to shop at the festivals. I will take cash and go shop because I like to support them too.
Yeah, they're really nice, those.
I love them.
Plaza art festivals, I always bring my kids to.
Oh, it's great. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I brought my kids to one of your classes. I don't know if you remember.
I do.
They
I
really
do.
liked it. So we still have what we did.
Good.
What would you say is the future of your business?
Well, I have no plans to retire or close. A woman came in here and she said, "So I heard you're closing." I said, "No, I'm not closing." "Well, that's not what the store in Jacksonville told me." And I said, "I'm not affiliated with any store in Jacksonville." "Well, that's not what they said." And my friend Lena was here, and I said, "Lena, have you heard me talk about closing?" "No." I said, "I have no plan to close. I'm still healthy, and I can still assert myself, and I have no plans to close yet. None. I still love it. I love coming in here, and I just like the colors, the shine, the shapes. You know,
It is beautiful to be here with all the colors.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. This has been very interesting, and I'm sure I learned about the history of beadwork before coming to do this interview, and it's pretty special. And
40,000 years. Yes. Let me
Absolutely.
leave you with this. I had a little girl sitting right there, and she said, "I am bursting with happiness to be here with the beads." And that's how I feel too. It is.
That's wonderful. Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome.